Well, you asked for it, so we made it happen.
We have a brand new book all about panels.
Hi, it's Donna Robertson.
And Fran Morgan with Fabric Café.
You've been asking us for a book with panel patterns.
So we did it. Our new book, Panel Perfect 3-Yard Quilts, has 8 brand new patterns that feature multiple panel block sizes.
Now these patterns are so flexible, you can use 1 panel yard and 2 1-yard cuts of fabric, or you can use 3 1-yard cuts of fabric.
So let's go check out our first one. Now this is our Santa Fe pattern, and it uses a nice 10-inch panel block in the quilt. We have 9 of them actually. Now what's really cool about this space right here, it is our fabric 1, and in all of the quilts in this book, you can use a directional fabric in this space here, which is awesome. So it all says that in the book as well. Now we have a really great border here. There is no half square triangles to make this border or the borders around the blocks. It's all made with the stitch and flip method, so it's gonna be super easy to do. Now what's really cool about this too, we have bordered our panel blocks with 2 different colors using the stitch and flip method right here. And whenever you put it all together, it creates this really cool kind of subtle angle across the quilt, which I think is just so neat. So let's get this on the table and check out this fabric. I wanna talk just a little bit about the patterns in the book and how they're written. Now, all of these patterns are written for panels, and in this case, we have a nice 10-inch block with our wolves on it. The first cutting instruction in our fabric number 1 is gonna say to fussy cut your blocks. There's gonna be a second cutting instruction in a colored bar that tells you how to cut your fabric if you're using running yardage. So you can either use a panel or running yardage for your fabric 1. And the same strategies work, so we're gonna go through that as we go through this fabric.
Awesome.
So first, our focus fabric. This is your panel block or your really beautiful print that you want to put in your number 1 fabric. In this case, we have these amazing wolves.
One of the things I love most of all about panels is how every one of the blocks just look like they're a photograph.
It is, or just this incredible piece of art that you want to hang in your home. In this case, you can quilt it and put it in your home. It's
Absolutely.
So nice. Now, as you see, we've got our panel block here in our number 1 position. And when you're choosing your fabric 2 and 3, we're going to take our focus fabric, our number 1 fabric, out of the equation. We're going to look at our number 2 and 3 together and compare them. Our lightest fabric is going to be the number 2. And in this case, we have like a wood grain look, and I think that keeps that kind of rustic look, like you've got your wolves out in the mountains scene here. And it goes in the background here, as you can see. Our darkest fabric is our number 3 fabric. Our number 3 fabric is always our pop of color. Our number 2 is our silent partner, it's our background. Our number 3 is our real gregarious party goer. It's gonna give that little pop of color. It's gonna give us the definition in our piecing. And as you can see here, we've done all of our corner borders on our blocks and our really cool design up here in our number 3 fabric with that number 2 in the background.
It's a great little technique to use a panel and then create the perfect companion rows and frames for those pictures. It's just perfect.
It's so much fun. Let's get you the kit information on this great kit. It is called Running with the Pack. This is our Santa Fe pattern from Panel Perfect 3-Yard Quilts.
Now this pattern is called Aruba. It is a great pattern that has all those little pieces and parts that you love about working with panels. It has an 8-inch block that you're going to make a very simple border to, and that makes it look like your blocks are like floating on the surface of the quilt. There are no seams to match on this quilt, so it's going to be super easy to put together. But let's put it on the table and I'll show you in detail what I mean. First of all, we're going to have our seam allowances on all of these pieces. So you're going to go through and cut your blocks just as the pattern tells you to do. And then we're going to make a couple of strip sets. And the strip set, I'm just going to put it down here for a moment. And we're going to cut the pieces off of the strip set just like that. Now this particular one is going to go right down here on the bottom of your your quilt, and as I said, the seam allowances are still there. And then we're going to make another strip set. Now this strip set is a little bit longer because we have to accommodate the fact that we added a strip at the bottom.
Yep.
So super simple, but we're going to make another strip assembly like this. The strip assembly is going to have the units cut off of those like that. And then we're going to put that particular unit just like so. And
It's so easy.
let's put this one back up here. Like I said, when those seam allowances are still on there, it doesn't always fit under the camera right there. But this is how easy it is to create that block. Now, when you're putting this block together, the really cool thing about this quilt is you don't have seam allowances to match up. Because,
I love that.
Yeah. So this was real easy. You're just sewing that extra unit right on there. But now we're going to put another strip on the block here, in between the blocks. So you've got it just like that.
Okay.
And then you sew another block across. And then we're going to take a larger strip, and that is going to be sewn in between your rows like this.
So there's no block seams to match either, so that's going to
Right.
keep it.
But it's just going to cause all of those blocks to kind of float on the surface of this
Wow.
quilt. Super
Wow.
simple and easy. Now, Fran, I love the fact that in our panels, every one of these blocks is like an individual piece of art.
It is.
And they're all so pretty, and it adds so much interest to your quilt for very little work on your part.
Yes.
That's one of the nicest things about using a panel. Now, we wanted them to kind of float on the surface, and so we're using the number 2 fabric, the lighter of the fabrics, as that background, so it really does cause all of the blocks to pop. And then the number 3 fabric, a really cool tip on your number 3 fabric when you're working with panels is to look for a consistent dominant color in the art that you're putting together. And in this case, we felt like it was the teal color. And so that's going to be everywhere that you see the number 3 fabric here. And that's going to just tie it all together because that same kind of color is in every one of those pieces of art. And then, of course, it makes a great border for the quilt as well. Now, this kit is called Spring Flourish, and it's the Aruba pattern.
Now this quilt is called Manhattan, and it uses a full yard vertical panel right in the center to really showcase that beautiful art. Now we named it Manhattan because we've got these Art Deco inspired blocks here that are put together, and we kind of feel like it has the feel of the Empire State Building, which I really think gives it a lot of strength and balance right here on the corners to really offset it. Now there's a minimal amount of half square triangles to make these blocks, and the rest of this is just made with simple strip piecing. It's going to go together in no time. And this panel is so striking. It is a full yard panel, and it is exquisite. I can't say enough about these panels.
And you know, this one's been a hit around the office. Everyone has been drawn to this one.
It is just really, it draws you in, and that beautiful sunset in the background. And that now this is our number 1 fabric, and it's in the number 1 position, which is in the very center of the quilt. Now for our number 2, we picked up a really beautiful gold that coordinated with our panel, and it is here in the quilt, our side pieces, and in our blocks. I like the way it's positioned here because it really gives a pop on the border. I really do like that. And then our number 3, we picked up a really nice textural dark blue. This is a really rich blue. It is bordering our panel here and then on the edges too and in our block. That gold and blue have such great contrast and really helps the design pop off of the quilt, which I think is perfect. Now, if you would like to get some help on cutting your panel blocks, both big, like Manhattan here, or small, then be sure to tune in on Thursday. We're going to walk you through how to cut the panel, step out exactly how to make some of these patterns as well. Now let's get you the kit information on this gorgeous kit. It is called Golden Reverie, and this is the Manhattan pattern.
Now, Rochester has a great 10-inch block pattern here. We are putting our 10-inch blocks here and creating a secondary block in between, and that is makes the interest that you have, and it makes it look really homey. And then we put a sashing strip right down the middle, which individually sets off each one of those 10-inch blocks. And do you know what would be really fun? You could use scraps in these diamonds, and this would just take on a whole new flair. So let's put it on the table and talk about it. Now, if you're liking these patterns but wish that they were just a little bit bigger, then don't worry. We've included the enlargement instructions for a twin and a queen king for all of the patterns except for the full-size panels. We did not include the enlargement instructions for those. But look at this fabric. Is this not fun?
It is fun.
Chickens have become like a hobby for so many people.
Yes.
They have these really cute chicken houses and everything, and it has translated into this absolutely adorable fabric.
And I have to say, these are some pretty lucky chickens.
I tell you,
these are beautiful houses.
They live in mansions. Now, one of the things that we want to point out as a tip is that whenever you're making your quilts with panels, you want to pick a similar color on the border of the panel block. And that way, if you match a similar color, if the fabric needs a little bit of
wiggle room there
when you're
not
cutting
quite,
out the right size, then it won't be obvious
Right.
whenever you put those two things together.
So basically what you're saying is because our number 2 is a very similar coloring as the edge of our panel, it kind of
Right.
all blends together so your eye doesn't say, oh, that's not still the panel. You can
Right.
still, it blends. So that's really good. That's a good tip.
And in this case, the number 2 fabric has, and let's just pull this over and show you. See how it has that little gold, but it also has the cream.
Yes.
So it really blends and makes it just almost seamless,
Seamless,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So that is a real good tip to keep in mind. Now your number 3 fabric, that is going to be kind of a wood look, and it has that wood grain texture, just like you might have in a barn or a or the egg boxes or something like that. So it's a great aesthetic for the chicken houses, as well as that pop of red that's picking up all the reds in the chicken houses. I think it just looks so cute.
So cute. So cute.
Now this kit is called Poultry in Motion, and it's the Rochester pattern from our new book.
Now this is our Providence pattern, and this uses a full yard horizontal panel right in the middle. And wow, it really showcases that panel. Now we've done that because we've separated our fabric 1, which is our panel, and our fabric 3, which is here, this printed fabric, with our fabric number 2. And what this does is it allows you to use a fabric number 3, which is a little bit heavier printed, bigger print, bolder print, so it really still sets it apart nicely. Now, this pattern would look good in so many different themes of fabric. For instance, I could see it in red, white, and blue stars. I think that would be so amazing. And then you've pieced your stars up here that would really tie it all together. And these stars are so much easier than they look. We're going to put it on the table and crop it out so you can see exactly how easy it is. The first thing we do is we're going to make a unit, and it's made out of half square triangles and 1 square. So I'm just going to kind of crop this here so you can see. Here we have a half square triangle and a square, and then we have 2 half square triangles here. You're going to put these together, and that creates your unit. So basically, when you do these stars, you're going to make these units over and over, just like you would do a 1 block.
Good point.
So you kind of remember how to do them as you get going, so it makes it a little faster. Then we're going to rotate our unit and sew another one on top of that one. So this right here is exactly the same as this bottom one, just rotated. Now we're going to make quite a few of these for our blocks, and then we're going to rotate these 2 and put it on this side. So basically, it's 1 unit made 4 times and rotated to make your star.
That's pretty easy. It always looks so complicated whenever you get through.
Yeah.
But if you just take it one step
Yes.
at a time.
Yes. And what's really cool about these panel patterns is I think we mentioned this at the quilt too, is the center block is one big piece of fabric. So you know that's going to be really fast. And there's not quite as many blocks just for our top and bottom borders. So there's not as many to make. So these quilts are going to go together pretty quick.
They really will.
Even with a really pretty star pattern like this as your borders, it's going to work great. All right, now let's look at this amazing fabric. You know, we talk a lot, Mom, between you and I about being grateful for the abundance that we have.
Yes, we do.
And this panel just screams that abundance. And during the fall, I know that we all start thinking about how grateful we are for everything we have. And this is just the perfect picture for that.
It is. It says a lot.
It says a lot. And it is the very center of our quilt as our fabric number 1. Then we have paired it with a number 2 that's a light beige with a scroll pattern on it. Now this falls to the background. As you can see here, it's behind our stars, borders our panel here, and it's really going to help our stars pop. But I like it for number 2 because it's a little bit darker, and it has a nice subtle pattern to it, so it's going to keep it really interesting. Now our number 3 fabric, and I think we mentioned this at the quilt, we kind of went a little bold on this and put a really nice print in there with all of the colors from the panel. And because the number 2 separates the number 3 from the panel, it allows us to use it in these ways. So like our star is made with it, and it just gives it so much dimension.
You know, it really does create a dynamic star with your using that fabric.
Yes, and all the colors are so rich, just beautiful, beautiful, spicy fall tones. All those leaves in there. Now, the information on this kit, it is called Cornucopia Harvest, and this is the Providence pattern.
Now this is the Madrid pattern. It uses an 8-inch panel block right here, and it has a fun optical illusion where it looks like you have friendship stars in between the blocks. It looks like the blocks are just kind of sitting on those friendship stars. To get this effect, you have 3 different types of rows that you're going to alternate. You've got row 1, row 2, and row 3. They're all super simple. They have half square triangles, great diagrams that will show you how to create that optical illusion when they come together. Let's take a look. Now, Fran, I have to admit that every one of these quilts has the most gorgeous fabric. It's almost like I couldn't decide which one I would want the most.
I can't either.
And I bet you're probably having that same situation. Which one of these am I going to get? But did you know that if you buy 3 kits, you'll be able to get this new book absolutely free? So get the 3 kits that you want the most and a free book. Okay, let's look at this gorgeous, gorgeous fabric and this fun quilt because I really like this quilt. The number 1 fabric has these beautiful medallions. Aren't they gorgeous?
They're gorgeous.
They're all intricate. It kind of reminds me of what you used to say about playing with the spirograph. You know, you could do the most wonderful things with that little tool.
I know I've had an opportunity to really look at this fabric up close, and there's all these little details in these medallions. There's so many little scallops and little flourishes and birds in this one. There's so much.
And just
so
think,
pretty.
if you tried to piece something that gorgeous, how long it would take.
No way.
So
Let's do this instead.
It's a beautiful panel, so I guess you can tell we're in love with it. Now for the number 2 fabric, we picked a very soft color with small texture, so it's just real faint in the background, but it still adds that interest that we like in that number 2 fabric. But it does pick up the warmth from the different panel blocks. It really adds that warmth to it that probably a stark white wouldn't work the same way at all. The number 3 fabric is going to be our wowzer. It's going to be that pop of color that's really going to complement those squares that we have cut from the panel. So we've got this beautiful brick red, and that's going to really highly contrast with those panels, but they're also going to bring out those red tones that are in there. So we've got that light gold, and then we've got some red tone golds as well. So it's a gorgeous quilt. Now the kit information on this is Boho Mirage, and it's the Madrid pattern.
Now, have you ever dreamed of going someplace wonderful for Christmas, far away with all kinds of history and neat things to look at? How about Venice? Would you like to go to Venice for the holidays? Well, if you're like me, you're probably not going to get to Venice, but we can make the Venice quilt with some really gorgeous holiday fabric like we've done here. Now this has a nice 7-inch panel block in this space here, and you can see that it's here as well, all the way across. Now these blocks have been set with a half square triangle pieced that goes in between, which creates these really cool diamonds. Now we've got them in our number 3 fabric and then some in our number 2 fabric. And whenever you put it all together, it almost looks like they're floating on the surface. So this one and then this is floating on top of the diamond. It's so cool. And you know, wouldn't it be fun to have these diamonds, all different colors behind your block? I think that would be really cool. Now let's go put this on the table and check out the fabric. We have used the most charming Christmas images in this quilt.
I know they're like a kind of a vintage.
It's so happy. And we
Yes.
have our nutcrackers, our Santa, our very happy gingerbread, our reindeer. We can't leave out our reindeer. We even have a little Christmas mouse.
Aw.
I mean, it's so cute. Oh, our little elf here. And as you can see, there are so many cute images, and that is our number 1 fabric in our panel square here. Now, we have paired this with a number 2 that's a nice golden beige with a star all over it. And we chose this because really our number 2 position here has quite a bit of space. And I felt like those stars were the perfect size to really keep it interesting and exciting.
Absolutely, yeah.
I really like it. And they kind of have that old-fashioned flavor, kind of like the block. Now for our number 3, we went super contrasty, which we need to do to help those diamonds really pop off. And it's a tone-on-tone texture with Santa's favorite word.
Yep. Ho, ho, ho. We kind of like it too.
Yeah, it's very, very fun. So we have our number 3 here is our border, and then our half square triangles surrounding every other panel block to help give it that pop and to help give it that dimension that really makes this quilt charming.
I have to tell you, Fran, the addition of these diamond look on these squares, I just thought you were brilliant.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
I did. I thought, oh my gosh, that is the greatest quilt. The way it just looks
so
wonderful.
Fun. It is really fun.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty quick to put together too. So nice size half square triangles and not too many. Let's get the kit information. It is called Santa's Workshop, and it is our Venice pattern.
Now, this is another fun quilt. It's called Bombay. I love this quilt. I love the 10-inch blocks where we're showing off the elephants here. But the alternate block is a lot of fun too. Now, the really cool thing is that you've got your focus fabric, but your alternate block can really add a lot to the quilt by how you change the fabrics to change the look of the quilt. For instance, these fabrics look much more adult and regal, but what if you use softer colors and they could almost look like a flower here? Or use darker tones and it could be more geometric. There are so many possibilities when using yardage in this particular quilt. Now, Fran, I know you've heard me say this before, but I love this fabric too.
Yeah.
You know, we often joke about never meeting a fabric that we don't love, but this fabric is just awesome. And whenever we pick out a fabric, our creative juices just really go to town. When we look at fabric, we're thinking of patterns. I mean,
Yes, we are. Oh, what can I put that in? What can I do with that? Ooh, let's put this with it.
Right. So it's something that's very near and dear to our heart. And these elephants are just incredible.
I also really like the addition of this little border that's right on the bottom of all the blocks. I think it just gives extra interest, almost like you pieced a little bit in there
Right.
and didn't. So I really like that.
And you know, that leads right into that number 2 fabric. Now that number 2 fabric is very similar to and matchy with that border that they put around the blocks. And so it just kind of blends together and it just looks like those those elephants are just kind of moving around on the surface of the quilt because you don't see a dramatic change. So the number 2 fabric is great. It's also in the center of that number 2 block that we've created. Now our number 3 fabric is that beautiful teal, and it's in one of those border strips around the elephants and also in the elephant fabric as well. And we've used it for the sashing in between those vertical rows. It is a gorgeous quilt. And the kit information on this one is Kindred Spirits. It's the Bombay pattern. I love how much interest a panel can bring to a quilt. And all we get to do is make a quilt that brings it to life.
And don't forget, if you're not a panel fan, all of these patterns will work with running yardage and they look just as good.
We have a video coming up where we're going to show you examples of all these quilts in running yardage. So make sure that you subscribe and click on the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out.
If you would like to see what our individual panel patterns are, then be sure to watch the video that pops up. Happy quilting!